Hi, my name's Jack. I'm a designer and video maker living in London, and today I'm going to be talking about the technology I use as a UX designer. So I'm currently working as a digital product designer for Activate Studio, and I'm also studying a part-time UX design master's at Falmouth University. To help me both at my full-time job and with my studies, I use a variety of different technology products for different use cases and different tasks. Before we start talking about the different technology products, it is definitely worth saying that very few of them are actually required to be a UX designer. They do just help. These days, software such as Figma is so accessible that it runs in a web browser, meaning you can use pretty much any computer. And the same applies for other parts of the design process, such as user testing and user research. So although all these different technology products are nice, and they do make life a lot easier as a UX designer, I don't want you to come out of this video thinking that you need all of these things before you start a career as a UX designer. Anyway, now we've got that PSA out the way, let's talk about the first one, which is the biggest and most important one, and that is my computer. So the computer that I use is an M1 MacBook Pro 13-inch. It was very kindly supplied to me by my employers, so I've been using it for about 6 months since I started this current job. And for everything that I need to do as a UX designer, it works brilliantly. When it comes to UX design, my main use cases for it are prototyping and wireframing using Figma, graphics design and illustration using the Adobe suite, as well as a tiny bit of web development and QA using web browsers. As I'm sure you'd expect, such a new MacBook doesn't have any problem with any of those tasks. I did make a video recently specifically about this computer and whether you should buy it in 2022. I'd say if you are interested in the computer, it is worth watching that video. However, it's not specifically from a UX design perspective. So to give you a short summary, as a UX designer, this is definitely a fantastic laptop to use. As previously mentioned, software like Figma doesn't require a lot of processing power. However, that does mean with a laptop like this, which does have the capability for more processing power, and that also has a very large battery, if you are using something like Figma, you can use it without plugging it into the wall for pretty much the whole day. So when I go into the office to work, I very rarely need to charge my computer before I leave to go home at the end of the day. When I'm at home, I still use the same MacBook, but I use it in more of a desktop setup. So the accessories I use to do that include an Anker USB-C adapter, the Apple Magic Mouse, the Keychron K2 keyboard, and the Dell U2515H monitor. Starting with the Apple Magic Mouse, I think at this point everyone knows whether they love it or hate it. It's definitely a Marmite situation. Some designers think it's the best thing ever, and some designers couldn't think of anything worse. For me, I think it's great just because of how easy it is to go between vertical and horizontal scrolling. It isn't the case of actually using a scroll wheel like on most other mouses. The touch surface makes it very easy to navigate around large artboards on programs such as Figma. Sure, the ergonomics aren't brilliant. However, I've probably been using an Apple Magic Mouse on and off for almost 10 years. And at this point, I'm completely used to using it and couldn't imagine using anything else. The Keychron keyboard I use is probably a bit overkill for what I do. I originally purchased it when I got a gaming PC, which I've since sold, but I still really enjoy using this mechanical keyboard. It's very satisfying to type on. It doesn't take up much space on my desk, and I also really like the aesthetics of it, which are obviously important to me as a designer. Then the Dell monitor is a bit of a relic at this point, however, it still holds up brilliantly. It's 1440p and 25 inches, and the color accuracy is actually very decent. Compared to modern 4 or 5K monitors, obviously, it is very far from state of the art. However, for me right now, I have no need to upgrade as it completely fits my personal use. So moving on from MacBook related stuff, now let's talk about tablets. I use an iPad Air from 2020. Again, like my laptop, it was supplied to me by the company I work for. And my main use cases for it include sketching and storyboarding, very low fidelity wireframing, as well as some illustration, and also using it as a QA/testing device if needed. You might have guessed by the fact that I mentioned sketching and illustrations that I do use an Apple Pencil with this iPad, which I think if you do use an iPad for design, the Apple Pencil is a must-have accessory. I personally wouldn't class myself as a great illustrator by any means, however I do enjoy having a quick sketch on it, and it is something that I want to get better at in the future. And besides sketching and illustration, just jotting down notes on an iPad during calls, meetings, or generally for ideas is a very nice experience. I personally think as well, the appearance of writing down notes opposed to typing them out during something like a Zoom call actually comes off a lot better. So if you're speaking to a client, for example, if you're typing away, it might seem like you're distracted from what they're talking about. However, if you're writing down notes, it is pretty clear that you are focusing on what they're saying and that's what you're writing down. Although both things are inherently the same thing, I think it's just how it comes across does look a lot better. And obviously the same does apply for handwritten notes on paper. Overall, I definitely wouldn't say the iPad is an essential piece of technology to own as a UX designer, but personally for me, it has a number of benefits to my workflow. The next piece of technology that I use as a UX designer is maybe one that you wouldn't guess to be on this list, but it is my phone, which is currently the Google Pixel 5. The main uses for this are the camera and also using it as a device for QA and user testing. In terms of how I use the camera for UX design, it is often just to transfer any paper-based work that I've done into digital format. So whether that's scanning something or just taking a photo of what I've drawn on a piece of paper, so I can then share it in some kind of mood board or presentation, and being able to do that quickly from a phone is very useful. And in terms of QA and testing, sure, you can use like the responsive mode within browsers such as Chrome, Firefox and Safari. However, there is quite a lot of limitations to testing mobile experiences with a browser. For one, using a mouse or trackpad in place of a touchscreen when the interface is designed for a touchscreen doesn't replicate the same experience for testing. Additionally, a lot of bugs or different quirks don't actually show up within a browser on a computer that will on a mobile, so it is worth testing things on an actual phone. So no, I'm not creating wireframes or prototypes from my phone, but it definitely is an important piece of technology to get my work done. And then there's a few other items that do help me with my UX design work. The first of those is the Bose QC352 headphones. These are noise cancelling Bluetooth headphones which are great for focusing if you're in a busy environment, or just to use them for video calling or listening to music while working. A pair of good headphones is very useful. Switching from output to input, I also use a Firefine K678 microphone. This is far from essential, however, it obviously does help audio quality when you're on Zoom calls and other online meetings. If you're interested what that microphone actually sounds like, I am speaking into it right now, so this should give you a pretty clear idea of the sound quality. Additionally, I have made a full video on that, so if you want to see a review, I'll link that in the description. And then finally, the last two pieces of technology are just working from home items. The first one is my desk, which is the FlexiSpot EF1 sit stand desk. I do really enjoy having the option of sitting or standing. I find having the option to stand for a period of the day does prevent any back pain in long work sessions. But some of the day I do sit, and when I do, I'm sitting on my Habada office chair. I'm still not sure if I'm pronouncing that word right. I think it's Habada, who knows, but either way, this is a pretty good and affordable chair off Amazon that I would recommend. I've been using it for about a year and a half and had no problems at all with it. It's very comfy and I think it looks pretty cool. So those are all the technology items I use as a UX designer. I'm interested to know what items of tech do you find useful for whatever creative practice you work in. Please let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos from me, do subscribe. Follow me on social media at jackjenkinsyt. And apart from that, I'll see you on the next one.